All right, guys. So we have the most Biden story of all time to share with you here. According to CBS News, the White House is open to new border expulsion law, mandatory detention, and increased deportations in talks with Congress. So we'll go through a little bit of it here, but the breakdown is actually very simple. What's happening is the White House is talking to Republicans. Republicans have made clear we're not going to give another penny to Ukraine unless and until we protect our border first, right? So they're basically trying to leverage how much the White House wants more Ukraine aid for a bigger border crackdown. Okay, that's what's going on here. And the White House is trying to, they're like, effectively, okay, like we'll give you a whole bunch more on the border, but we absolutely need, they say, to get past more money for Ukraine, but not just Ukraine, also more money for Israel and some money for Taiwan as well. Okay. The Biden administration on Tuesday indicated to congressional lawmakers it would be willing to support a new border authority to expel migrants without asylum screenings. That's kind of important. We'll come back to that in a little bit. As well as a dramatic expansion of immigration detention and deportations to convince Republicans to back aid to Ukraine. Four people familiar with the matter told CBS News. The White House informed Senate Democrats that it could back those sweeping and hardline immigration policy changes as part of the negotiations over President Biden's emergency funding request, a roughly $100 billion package that includes military aid to Israel, Taiwan, and Ukraine, as well as money to bolster border enforcement and hire additional immigration officials. For weeks, a small group of senators have been attempting to reach an immigration enforcement deal. Republicans have conditioned any further assistance to Ukraine to policy changes designed to reduce the unprecedented levels of illegal crossings at the southern border. During a press conference at the White House on Tuesday, Mr. Biden said his team is working with the Senate Democrats and Republicans to try to find a bipartisan compromise, both in terms of changes in policy and to provide the resources we need to secure the border. He said he has offered compromise already, adding that holding Ukraine funding hostage in an attempt to force through an extreme Republican partisan agenda on the border is not how it works. We need real solutions. So again, they put these things on the table. Look, certain parts of them, like we do need more immigration judges down at the border so that when there are cases, we can expedite them faster. That's definitely needed. I'd definitely be in favor of more funding for that. But the idea that there's no asylum screenings, well, that's just illegal. Right? That's just illegal. If somebody's applying for asylum, they have a right to apply for asylum. For you to say, no, we're not even going to hear you out, you're just going to get kicked out immediately, no due process, that's not legal or constitutional or acceptable, right? So that I wouldn't put on the table, but he is putting it on the table. Why? Because look, this should come as no surprise to you guys who are educated on this, but Cato Institute study, new data show migrants were more likely to be released by Trump than Biden. According to new data published last month, the Biden Department of Homeland Security has removed a higher percentage of arrested border crossers in its first 2 years than the Trump DHS did over its last 2 years. Moreover, migrants were more likely to be released after a border arrest under President Trump than under President Biden. The Biden DHS is removing 3.5 times as many per month as the Trump DHS did. So Biden is already very conservative on the border. So for him, it's like, this is a no-brainer. Of course, I'll give you more of a border crackdown. But the way in which you do it is important, and to have no asylum screenings, no due process, that strikes me as kind of crazy. Okay, but look, let's get to the more important point here. Look at how Washington whips into shape and acts quickly when it comes to more funding for Ukraine and Israel, and the Republicans are tacking on the border stuff in order to get those things passed. But the stuff that's viewed by the White House as the must pass, we definitely need more money for Ukraine and Israel. Now, look, on the Ukraine one, I think that's a mixed scenario. We already gave them a tremendous amount of money and a tremendous amount of weapons, and I wish them well in trying to stop the illegal and offensive invasion of Vladimir Putin, right? But, like, to give them more money, look, it's a debatable question. We'll just say that. It's a debatable question, and I understand both perspectives on that front. On the Israel one, no, not another penny. Not another penny. They're currently carrying out an ethnic cleansing and a genocide in Gaza. The evidence is the size of Mount Everest. Anybody with eyes who's being minimally honest would look at it and say, oh, there's a real problem here. And they're trying to rush through that money. So again, what do we have? 500,000, 600,000 homeless people in this country. There's no like emergency session where the Senate gets together and we have to pass something to get these 600,000 Americans off the streets. This is terrible. Nobody does that. Nobody does an emergency session to address the 1 in 4 Americans who have medical debt. 1 in 4. In other developed countries, Nobody has medical debt. That's not a thing. There are no emergency sessions for anything that involves regular people. Oh, we need to get back together quick. We need to bring back the social safety net expansions that happened under COVID because they went away and now everybody's struggling. Quick, emergency session, get it back together. Help, get regular people more money so they can survive, so they can pay the bills. That doesn't happen. There was no emergency session when we learned that the Pentagon failed a 6th audit in a row and they can't account for 61% of their money. Trillions of dollars, poof, gone, missing. There was no emergency. We gotta find who did this. People should be in prison over that missing money. Nobody said anything. The emergency sessions, they're like, quick, do this. It's all for more money for Israel, more money for Ukraine, and the Republicans are dragging along like, well, let's crack down on the border more, even though Biden's already been pretty aggressive in cracking down on the border. It just goes to show you how the priorities are totally warped. And this is why Biden has a 37% approval rating. So look, I gotta be honest. I wouldn't vote for a single bill that gives another penny of aid to Israel. Period. Not happening. So killing this is a good thing. I feel bad for Ukraine, but I can't have another penny going to Israel with what they're doing. We're aiding and abetting a slaughter of innocent people in broad daylight. Can't have that. But to them, it's an emergency to get more funding to the people who are doing the aggression. Incredibly disturbing. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.